All right, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today is episode 1 of season 3 of The Look-In. If you don't know what The Look-In is, it's a thing I've been doing on the channel for the past few years, where at the end of every team season, I go back, recap the team season, look at the future, see what they could do in the offseason, what the direction of this team, and look in on what this team is doing. Today's episode is on the Utah Jazz. We'll talk all about them here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications to all stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, getting closer and closer as the days go on. So all the support around the channel, they very much appreciated. Look to my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So the first episode of season 3 is going to be on the Utah Jazz. This year they're going to finish with potentially the worst record in the NBA. Right now they're 17-64. I'm recording this one and the next one with, without the final game played. But Utah, doing what they finally wanted to accomplish this year, which is a full-on tank. For the last 2 seasons, this is about what, I think year 3 now. The year 3 of their new rebuild after trading Ray Rudy and Donovan Mitchell. And the last 2 years, they haven't really fully embraced the tank. Like the first year, 2023, they had a surprising year. They started off as one of the better teams in the league for the first month, and then they're just always kind of cool. They finished with 37 wins, so it was like, all right, they weren't horrible. Last year, I thought, okay, this is where they're gonna try to full out tank, and they didn't. They were again better. They had a stretch, I think, between January, December, where they started winning a lot of games, and it was like, oh shoot, okay, and they won 31 games last year. This year, though, I expected a full on tank because it's like, all right, last 2 years, you were better than expected. Good job. But what did that get you? Not really much. And the one thing that Utah Jazz are really missing in this rebuild is really a guy. Lauri Markkanen obviously has grown into being the franchise guy over there, and they paid him a lot of money this offseason. But we know realistically, for the future of the Utah Jazz, Lauri Markkanen is probably not the centerpiece of this team. So they really need a guy. And now this year, they finally have embraced the tank and are going to have a really good shot at getting the number 1 overall pick this year. Recapping this season, first of all, Lauri Markkanen, after getting his new contract, he only played in 47 games this year, and wasn't the greatest Lauri Markkanen that we've seen the last 2 years. Still had a decent year, 19-6, on not amazing efficiency, so not the greatest year from him. John Collins, though, did have a bounce back year, averaging 19, 8, 2, a steal and a block. He shot almost 40% from 3. He actually played very well, even though he only played in 40 games. The good things you saw, Walker Kessler really came back after having an amazing rookie year. Last year was kind of a down year. This year he's come back, give you 11 and 12, over almost 2.5 blocks per game, 60% shooting from the field. Honestly, you can make an argument he was their best player this season. So Walker Kessler's really found his mark. And then the young guys, really, you look at them. Their Keyonte George, their second-year guy, didn't have an amazing second year. If you are a fan of this channel, I'm a big Keyonte George guy. I really believe in him. Didn't have the greatest second year. I mean, he averaged what? Give you almost 17 and 5. Horrible efficiency. And lost his starting spot halfway through the season. So that was interesting. Isaiah Collier, who took his starting spot, might have been one of the brightest spots of the season. Is Isaiah Collier. He was a late first-round pick, highly recruited high school prospect, went to USC, didn't have the greatest year, fell in the draft. And his rookie year, he gave you 6 assists, 42% from the field. Again, took the starting job away from Keyonte George, and has been solid this year. I mean, he's a big body point guard that can attack the rim, really good passer, really good at finishing. So he's got some potential there. As a potential point guard. Kyle Filipowski, their other pick from this year, who was a second-round pick, who also was a potential first-round pick that fell in the draft. He had a pretty solid year as well. Give you 9.6 rebounds, a 50% shooting from the field. He's had some big games. And has shown that Will Hardy can kind of figure out what his system is going to be like. So I'm very interested in that. Bryce Sensabaugh, their second-year pick, he was their late first-round pick last year. They didn't really get a lot of playing time. This year, give you 10 points per game, 46% from the field, 42% from 3, played in 70 games, which I think is what the tie for the third most on the Utah Jazz this year, what Sensabaugh played. And yeah, he did pretty good as well as a scorer. That's what he is. He's more of a scoring wing. Who else do you got? And then that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a lot of Taylor Hendricks this year due to a broken leg, which is really unfortunate. And then Cody Williams, unfortunately, their top pick in this year's draft, didn't really have a good rookie year. He gave you 4 points, didn't really do much in his rookie year, which is really, really unfortunate. But hopefully, again, he's still only 20 years old. He can bounce back. But unfortunately, we didn't really see much from Cody Williams this year. So look at the Jazz. When I said earlier that they finally fully embraced the tank, which is what they needed to do. Because if you look around the league, I feel like the Jazz are maybe top 3 team that when it comes to needing the number 1 pick, I'll put them in the top 3 of they need it. You know, like I would put probably Washington and Brooklyn also in that mix. I would say I don't think there's any other team that I'll put over Utah in terms of like desperately needing the number 1 pick. Yeah, they're top 3. I think it's probably them, Washington, and Utah. I'm sorry, them, Washington, and Brooklyn, and kind of this weird hole of like they need the number 1 overall pick because they've made a lot of selections in the past few drafts. Again, Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, Bryce Sensabaugh, Walker Kessler, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier. They've had a lot of picks in the last 2 or 3 drafts. But I think their highest pick in this all was like what? Taylor Hendricks at 9. Cody Williams was like the 8th pick. They've never had a top 5 pick in this draft. And while I do like some of the prospects they do have, you know, and I think they could be good players, they don't have the centerpiece of this future yet. And after 3 years of a rebuild, not having a centerpiece really kind of hurts a little bit. They do have a lot of good surrounding pieces, like Keontae George could be a solid point guard in this league. Isaiah Collier looks like he could be a solid point guard in this league. Walker Kessler could be a good starting big, even though we don't know what his situation is in terms of contract and is he going to get traded? He's up for an extension. His rookie extension this offseason, are they going to trade him? He's been in the trade talk, so I don't really know what's going on there. Bryce Sensabaugh could be a decent scoring wing. Kyle Filipowski looks like he has the potential as a good starting 4 to 5. Taylor Hendricks, we still really know what Taylor Hendricks is yet because he hasn't really got an opportunity with the injuries and all that stuff. Cody Williams, can he still find a role in this league? So they have a lot of they have a lot of young players, which is a good thing, but they just are in a weird spot where they have a lot of decent surrounding pieces, and even them, a lot of those surrounding pieces haven't really haven't really hit yet. Like Keontae George hasn't really had his big breakout yet. Bryce Sensabaugh, like all these guys haven't really had their big break except for Walker Kessler yet. So we're still kind of waiting on them to kind of show something and kind of have their big moments, while they're also still waiting for a star centerpiece of this team to come here and kind of, build around. They don't have a guy where it's like, all right, this is the guy for our future. Let's build around him. They pay Larry Marketing like he's the guy, but again, he's 27, 28 years old, and this rebuild, this rebuild is gonna last for a little bit while longer. I don't expect them to come in next year, and all of a sudden, boom, here we are. Unless some of their players take major jumps, which hey, it's not out of the question. You never know what's gonna happen. What if 2 or 3 of these guys come in, Keontae George, Kyle Filipowski, and Isaiah Collier all of a sudden pop off next year, and then it's like, oh shoot, here we go. But I just think the team building in Utah hasn't been super amazing. Again, they've gotten a lot of picks. They brought in a lot of picks. They haven't popped off yet. But also, looking at some of these guys, I don't understand how I don't understand how Jordan Clarkson is still on this team. Like, he's been on this team for so long. I don't understand why he's still here. Con Sexton, I'm surprised they haven't traded him yet because he's actually been good the past 2 years in Utah. John Collins, I mean, I don't even know if there's any reports of a trade on the table, even though he had probably his best year since that Hawk run that they had in 2021. They got him paid. So I'm surprised he's still on this team, even though he does have a player option for next year for $26 million, and he's gonna take it because no one's gonna pay him anywhere close to that type of money. Like, it's just, I don't know, some of the decisions and the not trades that happen. Like, again, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, I'm surprised those two are not gone yet because, like, what are they still doing on this team? Like, they don't really have a place still on this team, I feel like. It's just, I don't know. Utah Jazz are one of the most interesting and weirdest teams because I don't really know what to think of them. Like, you want to think of them as a good young team because they have a lot of young players that I like. But again, they don't have that franchise guy yet. And then they also have a lot of other guys on this team that are like, okay, where does Colin Sexton fit on this team? Where does John Collins fit in this team in the future? Where does Jordan Clarkson doesn't fit this team anymore for the future? So it's like, and then you have the Larry Marketing contract that you just attach so much money onto him that I feel like it's not gonna be super easy to trade that contract, especially after the year he had. Now if he comes out next year and has a similar year to his All-Star season, then we're back in conversations like that. But Larry Marketing did not have the most expiring year this year, which shows you can go in the offseason and just trade him and get the most valuable thing back. You're going to get something back from him because he's Larry Marketing and teams are going to take a chance on him. But you're probably not getting a crazy package back for him like you potentially could have got in this past offseason if you didn't give him the contract extension. So the Jazz are just in this kind of weird spot in terms of the NBA draft. I think, again, they desperately need a top 3 pick. They haven't really had that. Getting a guy like Cooper Flag comes in here and really establishes himself as, like, I'm the guy. Devin Harper, even though you do have Keontae George, Ezekiel Collier, if they get the number 2 pick and get a chance to get Dylan Harper, I think you take that chance. Because Dylan Harper probably has a higher ceiling than Keontae and Isaiah Collier. Even though those two I like and have shown some little flashes, I don't think they've done too much for me to say, nah, we can't take another point guard. You know, why not? If you get an Ace Bailey, maybe a guy that has high potential, even though it's going to take a little while to work. And I do like Will Hardy as a coach for them, though. I do think Will Hardy is a really good coach. You bring in Ace Bailey, I think maybe that could do something for this team. I just think a top pick is necessary for them. If they get another 7th or 8th overall pick, it's going to be kind of weird because it's like, dang, we have all these kind of like good number 2s and number 3s and those type of players. We don't have the guy yet for this rebuild. And if they don't get the guy again in this rebuild this year, and they end up with, let's say they drop in the lottery somehow and they end up getting the 5th or 6th pick and have to take a guy like, I don't even know who's around 5th or 6th, got to take like Kaman Malat. Like, I don't know if they'd take him because they have Walker Kessler, but something in that range. I think that would be kind of disappointing for the Jazz because it's like, dang, we missed out on having a core guy that we know, okay, this is the guy that we're going to try to be the number 1 and we're going to try to develop him into being our guy. Now we have to just put everything around him. So, yeah, the Jazz is very interesting to see what the Jazz are going to do this offseason in terms of their draft. I think their draft pick kind of determines everything because if they do get that top pick or top 2, top 3 pick, then I think that helps a lot because you get that guy, get Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper, you say, all right, this is the guy we're building around, and now we make the decisions of, okay, now we see next year, how does Keontae play next year? How does Isaiah Collier play in a second year? How does Kyle Filipowski look? If Walker Kessler's still on this team, do we trade Walker Kessler away now or do we extend him? And do we think, because I think Walker Kessler is going to be a really good big in this league. It's just, what do the Jazz think he's going to do? The Jazz think he's the center of the future next to Cooper Flag, potentially, if they do get him? I don't know. There's still a lot of questions about this Jazz team. I don't think they're in the worst situation. Obviously, they could be a lot worse. But I do think this offseason is where they're going to have to start really kind of finding a direction of where this team is going. Because the last few years, we haven't really known the direction. It's like, all right, do you want to tank? You should be, but you're not tanking as much as you should be. Larry Marketing is popping off. You still have Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins. You still have all these guys in the team. Are you going to pay him? You just pay Larry Marketing $200 million. Like, where are we going here? Are we going full on tank and rebuild and let's get all these young guys? Are we still trying to be competitive for some reason? Where are we trying to go? And I feel like this offseason, they're going to really have to pick because this next year is about to be year 4 of this rebuild, and we still haven't really found anything that we really like. All right, this is who the Utah Jazz are. We're still kind of figuring out who and what is the Utah Jazz at this point. So we got to really figure that out. So yeah, this offseason is going to be very big for Utah. Let's see what they do at the draft lottery, see what pick they end up with. I think that can determine so many different things. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Once again, around the road to 1,000 subscribers, all support around the channel. Be very much appreciated. Be on the lookout for more episodes of The Look In. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.